This is John Butero back with another video. I want to talk to you for just a few moments today about the interview that Kamala Harris did on Fox News and what my thoughts are about that interview. Um, I've seen a lot of interviews over the years with different presidential candidates and vice presidential candidates. And I've seen other interviews where that maybe the candidate didn't come off looking so good. Back there in 2008, when John McCain and Sarah Palin were running for president and vice president, Sarah Palin was on with Katie Couric on CBS News, and she didn't give a very good interview, and it harmed the campaign. And I was supporting the McCain Palin ticket at the time. And what I was thinking when I saw the interview was that Sarah Palin was not fully prepared for what she was getting into. She was going into an interview with somebody who was on the media side that did not support her and was clearly in favor of their political opponent. And so she was going to give her questions that she knew that she would have a hard time answering as the governor of Alaska, that she just wasn't really that much up on national policies. And that was a bad interview. But what I saw take place this week with Kamala Harris on Fox News was far worse than that. Kamala Harris wasn't the governor of a state where she was just having to deal with state issues. Kamala Harris has been the vice president of the United States under the Biden Harris administration for the last 3.5 years. And she should be very much acquainted with all national issues. And so it was kind of shocking to me that when she goes on and does an interview, she is as bad as what she is in answering questions. But I think that there's two reasons why I see this happening with Kamala Harris. One of them was that she's trying to run away from policies that she has been directly part of, because when we look at what's going on in the United States today with the border crisis and with the massive inflation, I mean, you look at how much it costs you right now just to go to the grocery store and buy groceries. And I generally go every week to the grocery store, and I've been buying groceries every week uh, regularly for the last probably 6 8 years at least. I've been going to the same store buying the same items. And when I go to the store today, it costs me roughly twice as much as it used to cost me on my weekly grocery bill. And then I also have to deal with the fact that when I go to buy gasoline, the gasoline costs me more than twice what it did when Donald Trump was the president. And at the same time, my salary hasn't kept up with the changes with the inflation. I haven't had any raises over the last several years, so it's like I've had a pay cut. That's what's been going on, not just for me, but for all Americans under the Biden and Harris administration. So Kamala Harris is having to run away from her own record as vice president, which is a difficult thing to do. And so when you see her go on and do an interview, she's going on there with a bunch of talking points. But when you look at it, uh, you would think that she knew she was going into an interview where there weren't going to be softball questions. When she's been doing interviews in the past, they've always been done with members of the media that she knew were on her side. And she had difficulty even answering their simple questions. And they were going out of their way to make them easy for her. She knew when she went into this interview, these were not going to be softball questions, or at least I would assume she knew that, or knew that it was a possibility they weren't going to be softball questions. So you would think she would go in there more prepared than what she did. But it was one of the worst interviews. I will say it was the worst interview I have ever seen done by a serious presidential candidate when they were running for office. When you go back to the debate she was in, she was had moderators that were clearly on her side and doing everything they could to help her. And as far as I was concerned, she still lost that debate. Now, other people will say she won the debate. It depends on what you were looking at. If you were just simply looking at her ability simply to give off some kind of an answer, she gave answers, but they were all talking points answers. They weren't even legitimate answers to the question. So if you're looking at it like, well, she answered questions, okay, she spouted off stuff and she was with friendly company. But I don't think she won the debate against Donald Trump. I don't even think it was close, because at least Donald Trump was giving answers to the questions, and he was having to debate not only her, but he was having to debate the two moderators at the same time. So the situation was different there, but I don't think she did a good job in her interview, or not in her interview, but during her debate. So, but then here you got a situation where she's walking into an interview and she knows they could be tough questions, and she is still completely unprepared for this interview. Now, while that's going on, she has Walz going on a debate where everybody thought he was going to win. And of course, why wouldn't they think that? The same situation was going on as was with her debate. The moderators were clearly on the Democrat side. So they were doing everything they could to give questions that they thought would benefit Walz over J.D. Vance. But even when they did that, J.D. Vance still came out better, because J.D. Vance was able to answer their very difficult questions at times, whereas Walz, he gave answers, they just weren't good answers. Now, I will say this about Walz. Everybody keeps attacking him, and they're blaming Walz for why Harris is not doing so well in the polls right now. I don't think Walz looked that much worse than Harris did during the debate, except only in style. Walz gave answers that were better than that of Harris during the debate if you go past the first question. Walz had a talking point answer to the very first question of the vice presidential debate, but at least he attempted to answer the other questions. That's something that I never saw Harris ever do. Harris doesn't give real answers to anything. She gives talking points answers. All she's doing is trying to say, it's either Donald Trump or it's me. I'm your only alternative, so you're stuck with me. But yet she can't answer simple questions. She is clearly unprepared to be president of the United States. And anybody that watched that interview with her on Fox this week, you clearly see this is a woman who is not ready. She's not ready for daytime, prime time, and she's not even ready for middle of the night cable television, or, it used to be UHF television when I was younger. You'd be on, somebody would be on like channel 74 in the middle of the night. She isn't even ready for that. This woman is not ready to be president of the United States, and anybody that watched that interview should be clearly able to tell that she is not ready to solve any problems. She has had 3.5 years to try to make things better, and things have only gotten worse. She's admitted that her policies are going to be very much like that of Joe Biden. She tried to claim she was some kind of a candidate of change, that she wouldn't be the same. But then in the interview, it was shown a clip that showed that no, her things would have been exactly the same. Her policies would have been the same as Joe Biden on virtually everything. So in order for things to get better in America, we have to have a real president, somebody who knows what's going on, somebody who has a real plan and a real vision. Kamala Harris does not have a real plan or a real vision. All she's trying to do is go out there and claim, I'm not Donald Trump. I'm the only other option you've got. Vote for me. That's not good enough. America needs better than that. Kamala Harris is not ready to be president of the United States. She was never a good choice to be vice president. The Democrats really made a serious blunder when they quickly removed Biden from the ticket and gave it to Harris without any, other alternative candidates being seriously considered during the Democratic convention. The Democrats certainly could have come up with somebody better, but they couldn't come. They just chose to just give it to Harris. And then you look at one of the things that didn't actually get challenged. She was talking about some of the Republicans that support her over Donald Trump that know him. What about Democrats that are supporting Donald Trump over her, like Kennedy or Tulsi Gabbard? What about people like that are supporting Donald Trump? I mean, it's been an unusual election where that you see some people that have been traditionally Republicans now supporting Kamala Harris, and generally what I've seen is the ones that are doing that are people that are part of the war machine. They're part of the type of Republicans that want to get involved and be the world's police all over the place. Those kind of people are supporting Kamala Harris, the globalists, the New World Order crowd. And then you see Democrats that are really genuinely concerned about the country who are saying we cannot continue with these dangerous policies of Harris and Biden, even policies of trying to take away your free speech and your gun ownership rights. And then Kamala Harris will claim that, she's changed on some of her views from in the past, but when you actually look at it, how can you believe that? And then her vice presidential candidate admits during the debate that he often lies about things. So you can't believe what he's saying. The Harris Walz ticket has got to be the worst ticket that I have ever seen with anybody for president and vice president. It's even worse, in my opinion, than the ticket that was a third party ticket years ago with Ross Perot when he was running. I mean, it's even worse than that ticket was. So she's clearly not ready to be president. And I hope that the American people can see through her. And when you cast your ballot this year, I hope that you will put America first and Americans first and vote for Trump and Vance for president and vice president. Because America definitely cannot continue going down the path that we're currently going on. The dollar is going to collapse if we go this way. They're going to get us into a war. And I truly believe that if we do wind up in a war this time, you're going to see the draft brought back out of necessity. And I truly believe that women will have to be included in this draft because that's the way the Democrat policies are. The Democrats who are promoting the feminist agenda will have to come out and say that it's only right that women be included in the draft. I would hate to see that happen in America, that we're drafting men and women into needless wars. And they're not even wars that have to do with things that we even have to be involved in. They're provoking wars with Russia and with China. Whereas I believe that if Donald Trump were the president, cooler heads would prevail and he would be promoting a policy of peace and American nationalism rather than globalism and getting involved in everything on the world stage. Well, anyway, that's all I wanted to talk to you about on today's video. Thank you for joining me. If you're not a subscriber to my channel, I want to invite you to subscribe. And Lord willing, I'll be back soon with another video. God bless you.